Okay, so we've got this side done. Just about done with this side. A little more. A couple little spots. Um, so what we're going to try today, what I've hinted at, is this. They call it Quick Check, but it's basically a temporary gloss simulator. You spray it on. It looks like gloss. It's solvent, and then you wipe it off, and it will show any non-flat parts. So we're going to try that out. So we spray it on. It gives it a glossy look, and you bounce the light off of it. And let's put a little more. Doesn't take much. It'll evaporate on its own, just a little bit. And then you can kind of bounce that light, and you should see, that's the overhead light there. You should see anything that is a bump or something that your eyes or hands can't pick up. I put a little more on, so it's kind of thick, and I'm happy with that. I don't see anywhere where that light is not straight. Oh, the little dots are just probably dust in the air, but so it looks good. So that's kind of the final step of sanding, at least, to test what it's going to look like. Of course, there's going to be color. This is just primer color, and then it really mimics the clear coat. What it's gonna look like when the clear coat is on there. And from what I can see, in this half of this half, looks great. So what I'll do now is you just wipe it off, and then the rest evaporates, and it's ready for the final sanding, which is a 600 grit prior to paint. And that's done really the day before or the day of paint. And that 600 grit really is to provide a surface on the primer that the paint, the base coat, which is the color coat, and the paint can really stick to. So looking great. There's these I've seen it on the internet, but there's these light bars that kind of do the same thing as what the overhead lights are doing. It puts straight light on there, and you can see any kind of, if you have like a dip or something, you'll see it. You'll see the light, take a turn. So that looks great. Very happy with it. Take a clean paper towel, essentially, and you wipe it off. And then whatever might be left on there just evaporates because it is some sort of solvent. But sort of the process you go through for a very, very, very good paint job. Because you certainly, if you're going to do a rough and shoot, which is like a Mako, you just basically, what they do is they'll just rough the paint with the 600, spray over it, and you get what you get. Tape it, and you get what you get. So this is I think I have maybe 12 hours so far just in this panel, which I thought would be less, but hey, that's the way it goes. And so what you get. This after a couple minutes after I've wiped it down, you can see the last of the solvent kind of evaporating away. So it's back to the surface it was before. I'm going to do something. I'm going to do the final step of 600. And I use a 3M sandpaper because, especially for the finer grits, I don't do that with the rough sanding. You just use maybe a Chinese, less expensive sandpaper. And the final things you want to use, I want to use a 3M, and I always use a 3M product because they're American company and they're very consistent in their quality. So you get a very consistent 600 rather than 600 with maybe some 800 grit in there, and that can, or 500 grit that can really mess you up. So I'm going to go ahead and wet sand this, just hand wet sand, probably just half of it, and then I'm going to apply that quick check again and see what it looks like. Just wet sanded that. I haven't wiped it. I'm going to wipe it down. I'm going to make sure it's completely dry, and then I'll put another layer of primer on it, and that will be the final prior to painting. So it'll be a nice thick primer. I didn't go through in the just hand sanding like this. So I'm not trying to block it at this point and make it flatter, although it does make it flatter. Probably a very microscopic level. And then I'll apply a good thick coat of primer on that, and that will be prior to paint. And then again, right prior to painting, the day before painting, it'll be, the whole car will be sanded with the 600 grit, hand sanded, and then paint is applied. So it's dry. I'm going to show you. I'm going to actually pass a torch over it very quickly, just basically a hot air, if you will, to just drive any and all moisture out of there before I put. Because it's a humid day. It's raining outside, as you can see. And so I want to make sure I drive any moisture out of that without burning it. You can't burn it. That'd be bad. And you can see the moisture being driven out. So this is totally dry. It'll probably be about 70 degrees when I feel it. And I will now apply my final coat of primer prior to painting. But that feels just completely flat. At least that section does. Apply the final coat of primer. You can see it kind of drying. It's a little shiny. It's going to very quickly here get sort of a dull color. But that will be sort of the shell that just sits this way. So maybe in 2 weeks when I paint, or whenever it is, one more sanding with the 600. So I do not want to touch this with anything coarser than 600, or the coarser sanding scratches, although you can't see it with your eyes or feel it with your hands. The coarser sanding scratches will attract that metallic into it, and you'll see lines. And I could show you examples of that I've seen a lot through the years, both that I've done and I've seen other people do. So that primer that went on is that final coat is really filling anything I might have missed with my eyes, any little scratches I might have missed with my eyes. So this is actually the first the first part of the project that would be considered ready to paint. Even this, I just looked at it again, even this, I can see little, maybe you can see it, little spot right there. Let's see if the camera can pick it up. It's hard to see, but the eyes can see it. Little spot that I'm going to have to touch up. So actually this is not the final. There's a couple, when you do all this, you'll find, I don't know if the camera will even focus, little spot, which in a lesser paint job, the paint would probably cover that up, a little spot there. So still I can even see where I have to continue working on this surface. And really the whole process is, if you've probably figured out by now, the whole process is a series of passes, rougher to finer to finer to finer, until the visual noise gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And spots like that, you just cannot see it anymore. So you might go over every square inch on a good paint job. You might go over every square inch of this vehicle 30 or 40 times, and I think I'm going to have 200 hours in this. I hope I can do it under 200 hours in this project, just the paint and the body, and well over 2,000 in materials when it's all said and done. I'm at $1,000. I'm over $1,000 in materials just so far, and I haven't even bought the paint or the clear coat yet, which is the probably about $1,000. So you can see that a really good paint job is no such thing as perfect, but there's better and better and better. You can see that it is. It's the point now where I am actually dreaming about this. Like this car is showing up in my dream. Like last night, I was dreaming about this spot right here and how I was going to deal with it. So in my dreams, I'm trying to figure out, every little spot. So that's just the part. It's just the process of painting. And if you're not a patient person, painting is not for you. Bodywork and painting is not for you. So you have to kind of like this. You have to be able to do something for 8 hours straight, 10 hours straight. You got to be able to work on that surface right there over and over and over again for hours and hours and hours. And, or it just won't be a good paint job. That's just the way paint is.